Okay. So do you hate doing these kind of sessions on Friday evening, Anis, or your workaholic?
No, my sessions, meaning I do have a couple of calls later on also. So, pretty much work with a global team.
Okay.
So yeah, work continues.
Okay. And if your family is fine with that, your family doesn't hate you.
I take my Sunday very seriously. So ensure
Okay.
the time which is dedicated to them is dedicated to them.
Okay. Okay. That's good. Yeah, I work till my family throws me out of the house, and then I have to get back in, make some false promises.
We all have been there.
Yeah, that's the start of life, right? I mean, you have to. I mean, we have chosen that life for ourselves, so we can't complain. We should not be complaining.
It actually puts food on the table, right? So you
That's right, yeah.
Exactly.
So today is Thanksgiving holiday in the US.
Yes.
So I'm not assuming that people from the US will be dialing in. But yeah, we will record the session and we will stream that later on Etham's channels so that the people can have a look at it later. Yeah.
Pankaj, how are you seeing the market right now with the startup world, with the AI world, the Gen AI world?
I should be asking that question to you because you are making so many investments in AI, right? I mean, C5I, I think there's a lot that you're doing in the AI space. So probably you are seeing a lot of interesting activities, right?
No, it is. It's becoming crazy. We continue to evaluate new companies and I would just say things can quickly spiral out of the window when the valuations conversations come in.
Yeah.
They
No, I
may
mean,
be small or the value proposition may not be that strong.
yeah. No, one thing that I do realize whenever there's a new technology, right? It's pretty difficult to figure out what is right, what is real, and what is not. I mean, the technological due diligence is such an important part of the overall process for those really deep tech startups. It's just crazy, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, from our perspective, we are seeing a lot of enthusiasm about AI startups, but then there's also a lot of skepticism, right? Whether this is the real tech or not, or just another LLM wrapper. So those are the questions that we see many times.
Yeah.
And
No, at least for us, to be very candid, because we live and breathe in that space and we are fortunate enough to work with some of the big, large companies, pardon my French, we can sense bullshit pretty quickly when it comes to AI and generative AI, right? In terms of uh, is that real work behind it, or is it just like you said, a wrapper? You're putting a nice lipstick on the pig and saying, that my technology is the best.
yeah,
We can quickly sense that, and we can quickly gather that. So,
yep, that's the challenge. But yeah, I mean, in other spaces, we are seeing a lot of interesting investment in the manufacturing space, which is actually good, which needs to happen, right? And the investments in SaaS are sort of a bit difficult. We are also seeing that startups at Series B, C are having difficult time in raising. So yeah, and then obviously it is also very much geography dependent. But anyway, these are all cycles, right? I mean, you will see another 2021 like situation where everything will be super, super hot.
yeah,
Okay, I think we should be getting started now.
sure.
What I will do is I'll hit the record button, and then we'll take it from there. But yeah, before hitting the record button, so Anis, uh, you can obviously share your presentation, talk about C5I, about yourself, and then we will dive into the mistakes that startups make while approaching to the enterprises for pilots and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, thanks everybody for joining in. We have Anis Merchant with us today. Anis Merchant is leading digital transformation, innovation, AI analytics business at C5I. And today he has graciously agreed to share his thoughts, his insights on the mistakes that startups may be making while approaching to the enterprises for pilots or for the implementation, solution implementation. And I mean, obviously, there could be hundreds of mistakes that startups might be making while reaching out to these enterprises. But Anis will focus more on the mistakes that he sees from his perspective, from his experience while working with the startups and the innovation ecosystem. So Anis, really appreciate your time today. And please feel free to introduce yourself, and then let's do a bit of introduction on C5I as well, please.
Sure. No, what I'll do is I'll get to my introduction as I go through the presentation as well, Pankaj. I hope everybody is able to see my screen and the PowerPoint is up.
Yeah.
No, thanks, Pankaj, and thanks to your team, and thanks to everyone for coming on and graciously giving an hour today on a Friday to talk about the conversation, everything about how to work with large enterprises. And I'll talk about what I have seen and experienced myself while working at my own company, which is C5I, but also working with other startups and seeing other startups. Um, Hopefully, as we move along the conversation, you would know why I bring in that experience and I'm sharing that experience. So hopefully, we all can learn. And please, I always say I'm not the saint. I'm not the most knowledgeable in their house. The idea is to have a conversation also. I would love to hear from you all if you all are seeing or have a unique perspective on topics which I would cover today. So please bring them on. That would be a learning for me as well. But yeah, as Pankaj said, there can be hundreds of mistakes. I have picked up few of them. And I'll also leave you all with certain things you all should take care of, or you all can learn and what you all should be doing better. I'll talk about the mistakes, but then I'll also talk about, okay, how do you solve for it in the last part of my presentation. So please interrupt, raise your hands, ask questions. More than happy to kind of stop and at least hear and have a dialogue with each one of you. So a little bit about C5I. We are a global analytics, insights, and an AI company. We've been in the industry for over 2 decades. Uh, Fortunate enough to work with some of the largest companies in the world. 4 of the 5 most valuable companies in the world are our clients. And we work across tech, telecom, media, retail, CPG, manufacturing, healthcare, life sciences. These are some of our, and banking and financial services. These are some of our customers globally. We've been on a journey of driving value and, more importantly, adoption for everything we work on. Along the journey, we've also been fortunate enough to release some marquee multi-million dollar products in the market, which have been adopted and providing value, and more importantly, driving business impact for our clients, which we really focus on. And as you can see, as part of our tagline, how do you bring in human plus AI to drive business impact? That's really our motto. That's really what we focus on. And that's a little bit about the company. We are about 2,000 people strong, pretty much have teams across the globe, right from US to Japan, I would say pretty much everywhere. Uh, and that's a little bit about the company. We are not a listed organization, but we did raise capital last year to drive inorganic growth. And we continue to evaluate companies. We continue to evaluate not only companies to drive that inorganic growth, but also to see if there's a like-minded partnership which we can engage and which we can drive. And the intention is how does that engagement really not only add value to our business, but also add value to our clients' business. So there are these certain theses we follow. Definitely, if you're looking for a certain level of partnerships, we are looking to certain level of engagement with other startups or other companies. The intention is, okay, they need to align to our strategy in terms of what we are taking to market. So that's one of our key area when we evaluate, and definitely the like-mindedness or the cultural fitment. If our strategies are aligned. And last but not the least is areas which we focus on. For example, if you're into cybersecurity, that's not an area we are in. And we may be the wrong partner for you to partner with, right? And that's what we also want to focus on as a company, that we really are known for our expertise in key areas which we work in, rather than be a jack of all and master of none. So that's a little bit about C5I. Happy to have any questions about C5I as we go through this conversation, but it's not about C5I only. But I just want to give you a little bit color about the company I represent, the company I work for, a company which I spend my maximum time today on a day-to-day basis. So that's a little bit about C5I. And that's what comes all about me, what I do and what I focus on in the company. So as Pankaj highlighted, I lead the global innovation, IP and analytics consulting at C5I. I've been with the company for about 11 years now, been in the industry for 27. Over the last 11 years at C5I, I have launched multiple products/platforms and services as well for our clients, and been fortunate enough to see success for many of them. And it's not that everything has been all success. We've had our own share of failures, not only from a go-to-market, but from a product and how we thought about our products. Definitely happy to share many of those areas as we go through some of the examples which I walked through. So that's my day job, or that's my day avatar. But my Batman avatar, which is my night job, I am also an investor. I invest in startups. I also mentor startups, and I also do these guest lectures with many of the academia, which is which is a passion for me. In fact, that's a medium of giving back to young generation who are looking to build their own career. Like tomorrow, I have a similar one on a weekend where I'm doing this for one of the institute. So that is something which I do. So that's my Batman avatar. But really, what I'm really passionate about is I love artistry, but you can say my creative skills are limited to my own limitations, and that's where I use AI a lot for enhancing my creativity. Like, for example, I just recently launched my own music album using AI. So that's where I really exploit AI to transcend my capabilities, my creative capabilities further. Definitely, photography is one of the other area, and I love to play with technology. If I'm not doing anything, I'll be testing new products, whether it's hardware or software. Every now and then, I'll subscribe to all of them. If I don't like them, I'll quickly turn off my subscription. So you'll never see me subscribing to a yearly subscription to any of the platforms. I'll typically start off with a month. If I love it, and if it helps in my day-to-day job or my passion areas, I'll take it ahead and I'll move ahead and focus on, okay, how can I now exploit it to my advantage rather than the platform exploiting to my advantage. Yeah, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, happy to do that. If you want to keep the conversation going. So that's a little bit about me and a little bit about C5I. If anybody has any questions about the company, happy to answer about C5I. Else, I'll get into the main theme of the conversation today.
Any questions so far? Okay, I think let's get into the conversation, and then there'll be a lot of questions later on. Yeah.
Sure. So Pankaj had posted this in that WhatsApp group, and I said, this piqued my interest, and it kind of related to me because I'd been through it, been there, done enough of these mistakes. And I said, why not share it back with the community, which Pankaj and team have been building, and I'm really happy to be part of that community as the community evolves. Uh, like Pankaj said, that there can be many, many mistakes, but I that will take 10 hours to kind of talk about those many mistakes. What I've done is I've kind of distilled it down to some of the key ones which I have personally experienced, by the way. And I would love to share that. As I said, I want this to be conversational. So there's going to be less of text, and there's actually no text on now slides going forward, which you will see. And it's going to be more conversational. And if you all have any perspectives, any one of you, and as I understand, there are many startups today who are representing who are at a different stage of your journey. So if you have any perspectives, if you have any questions, or if you have any thoughts, if you want me to double click on how can you overcome some of these challenges or these mistakes, please button and drive. So the first mistake, and this has been one of the mistakes which even I've done, which we have done as well, is building a product or building a business or reaching out to prospects in a completely an unknown territory. That's been one number one challenge which I have seen with many startups I mentor. Uh, uh, you know, uh, Companies which have dealt with, or the products which I have built is building an unknown, completely dabbling into an unknown territory. What I mean by that is, for example, if I choose to build a company in healthcare, or if I choose to build a product in healthcare, if you can see my size, I'm a big guy, right? I've not been healthy all my life. Now, what expertise do I bring about health as an example? So, my own expertise. Or I'm based out of India right now, and I choose to go ahead and say, I will build a product, I will build a service which is specifically for Vietnam, as an example. Completely an unknown territory. I don't know the culture. I don't know the buying process. I don't know what people will buy and not buy. And specifically in B2B, one of the biggest challenges which I have seen, people believe, oh, the only two differentiation is B2B and B2C. Let me tell you, the answer is no, it is not. Even though B2B and B2C may be two broad differentiations, even in B2B, when you start selling into different markets and different geographies and different countries, the buying process becomes very different, and it is largely influenced by the culture itself of that country and of that region. So that's been one of the biggest challenges. And I always recommend, if you want to do something, like if you want to launch a product, you launch something which is relevant, and that's something which is you're confident on, do on areas which is around your home base, and let it be any other home base. And I have seen companies struggle massively. I can tell you, I have seen companies in India trying to build a business in Middle East, and they think Middle East is one big region. As an example, it is not. uh, you know, each country in its own is a region itself, right? And have their own unique flavors. And the operating models in each of those regions are so different, and they're changing so rapidly that you don't have a feet on the ground. You're sitting out of India, as an example, or you're sitting out of Singapore, and you're looking to build business in Middle East. I'm sorry, you will have a colossal failure. Until unless you have feet on the ground, or you yourself as a founder move there and trying to build a business there, that's a different story. And even sitting in Dubai, for example, or sitting in Saudi, or sitting in Qatar, or sitting in Bahrain, for all the good reasons, you want to go ahead and say, I'll go ahead and do business across all Middle East. The answer is no, you cannot do that. It's difficult. So it's best that if you can build a business on your home ground, and then concentric circles, you will quickly move around, and as you can quickly go bigger and better. Same way with the kind of product you're in. People often talk about pivot. Let's pivot, right? And if you're in an area A and your pivot is in area Z, you've not gone ahead and traversed to B, C, D, E to get to Z, as an example, and you've quickly moved on to Z or Z, depending upon which part of the world you are in, whether you call it Z or Z. But that's one of the biggest mistakes I see, which many companies undertake, and because of that, that leads to problem when you get in front of the customer. When you're offering pilots, when you're offering these POCs or free trials or whatever you may want to call it, the different flavors. And I'll talk about free trials and POCs as I go to the conversation also. That's one of the biggest challenges we see, which we have seen as well. That this is one of the biggest mistakes. Uh, and as I said, please, if you have any questions, thoughts, or if somebody is living through this right now as an experience, love to hear that. But yeah, that's mistake number one. Mistake number two. Oh, you are a founder, or you are developing your own product. You are a product head, or you are a technologist, and you say, okay, I don't know how to do sales. And you say, okay, or I'm uncomfortable talking to strangers. And as you're trying to do pilots, as you're trying to get in new customers, uh, and that's been one of the biggest failures I have experienced myself. I have hired in my early journeys of selling products in the companies to many other large enterprises. And by the way, we sell only to large enterprises. We don't sell to small, medium, or consumer side of business. So if you are in a consumer side, I cannot answer that very well. I'm more on the enterprise sales. So I'll talk about that. And specifically large enterprises, not even government sales, by the way. And I'll talk a little bit about this differentiation in my slides also. Uh, I have gone ahead and hired a salesperson for a product which my team built, and I was involved, and I was the person who thought about the product. And I had to fire that person in 6 months. And I thought that the person was a failure, by the way. And the reason, when I went a little bit double clicked on it in terms of why, and invariably the product failed, by the way. The problem, it was not this individual. The problem was not a sales process. As a founder or as somebody who had developed the product, myself have not gone out to the market to really have a conversation with the customer, like exactly what are their needs? Is this solving their needs? What is the buying process for selling a software like this? And I'll talk a little bit about B2B buying because it's not that easy. It is not like you and I buying a ChatGPT or a cloud subscription. A B2B buying process is very different. I have myself have not experienced it, and expecting somebody else who's not aligned or not attuned to the product the way I may be, or may not understand the nitty-gritties or the intricate part of the product, and trying to go ahead and hire somebody and saying, okay, let that person go ahead and have that same passion, will, and more importantly, have that understand the intricate details about the product. So when they go in front of the consumer, they'll be able to go ahead and do a good job. Probably the answer is no, and you yourself as a founder have to do that. And I have done that personally, and I continue to do that. Earlier this year, there was a product which we were incubating for 3 years. We launched that product for in April this year, as an example. I didn't go ahead and hire a salesperson right out of the gate. I am taking that product in the market myself, even being at a designation which I don't need to go ahead and do that sales, as an example. And the reason why I'm doing that, because I am understanding on a day-to-day basis what are the rebuttals, what are the pushbacks, what are the difficulties of customer adopting, what are the challenges they see, how can we tweak the product, how can we enhance it, how can we better it so that it's easier for the customer to buy. And when we go to different markets, what are the different market challenges? Because we already present in the different markets, we have that unfair advantage, by the way. We already have that unfair advantage where we can tap and understand what these different markets are. Not advisable going back to the first point. But today I have that unfair advantage. How do I go ahead and tap into that and understand which market will be better suited for my product? Now, when we have traversing that, I myself am doing that so that I gain a better knowledge of what the product is, so that when I go ahead and hire a salesperson, I'm able to do that. And you know what? What I did hire a salesperson after 6 months because we did have certain success and we were quickly scaling up. Now, the way we trained our salesperson was very different. If you have a liberty to take that person on the road show along with you, then you so be it. But when we were trying to sell this digitally, we were not, we were trying to be cash conservative or not spending a lot of money on travel. I had all my recordings for the calls which I had the customer. I took all those recordings and I gave it to the salesperson. That person was able to ramp up pretty quickly in 3 days because that person had a first-hand experience of how are we positioning the product, what are we what are the do's and don'ts, that person was able to go ahead and draft all the requirements in terms of their own training needs on their own, rather than me sitting and spending time on training that person. And the feedback we got, this is the best training I've got. I have all the recordings. I know what the customer rebuttals are, and I don't need to get coached by you. And I could see that the person was pretty much active in 2 weeks of trying to reach out to customers and trying to sell. So it's how you onboard sales rather than just trying to outsource sales, or trying to outsource sales either by hiring somebody or to a third party. Highly not recommended. That's been one of the biggest mistakes I have realized.
Anis, if I may ask a follow up question on that. So what you're trying to say is that the sales has to be founder led in the beginning, and
Yes.
once you have proven the product market fit, once you have identified your ideal customer persona, your go to market strategy, once you have fine tuned all of that, then you start bringing salespeople, you start hiring salespeople, and then obviously give them all the material and everything so that they can learn from it. How about channel strategy, SI partner strategy? Because uh, what I feel is that as soon as founders have fine-tuned their go-to-market strategy, they should also start reaching out to these channel partners so that they can leverage the credibility, network expertise of these channel partners. But what do you think? What is the right timing, or what mistakes you may make with those channel partners if you are reaching them too early or too late?
No, it's different. It depends upon different categories of the products you're in, different industries you're in, and the way the customer buys. These are the three parameters I would say when it comes to channel sales, Pankaj. Uh, See, channel strategy is good, bad, and it has its own ugly flavors, right? I would say. I have seen startups being completely run down by a channel partner whom they didn't select it right, where the channel person actually replicated the product, and the product was out of the mix, right? So it's whom you pick and how you pick also, right? For example, if there are people who traditionally sell boxer software, and you go ahead and say, can you be my channel partner? And can you go ahead and start selling my software, which is a SaaS-based subscription? Now, that person doesn't understand SaaS subscription, and you go ahead and try to work with them. You may have a logo that these are my channel partners, but they may not be effective for you, and you may spend more energy. So my recommendation, at least from a timelines, if you're starting on a journey of selling through channel, at least for the 18 to 24 months, you should not do that. First, founder led, then build your team, at least one person, and then go ahead and with channel, right? Too early to go ahead and start getting channel out of the mix, right? Now, while I'm saying this, there have been anomalies, Pankaj. I have seen companies, startups being successful if they've adopted channel business effectively. The reason is, if you really go down, double click into those anomalies, the, the founder came from another startup where they build their business from a channel business. But if you're a first time founder, building a first time software, selling into an enterprise, highly not recommended.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
The third piece, the third mistake, any other questions, by the way, before I go ahead on the first two mistakes? Okay. The third mistake, Pankaj, you spoke about the pilots, or selling a pilot, or getting a paid trial from a customer. It's before getting that paid trial or getting that paid program from a customer, before the customer signs for an annuity or any of those larger engagements with you, you yourself as a founder or as a team have not prepared enough in front of the customer. And I'll talk a little bit about this preparation a little bit more in detail. But what is the company all about? And the department you're selling, where do they fit in the entire matrix of an organization? What does that value chain look like? What are the upstreams? What are the downstreams? The individual whom you're selling to, what is his or her personal intention while working with you? What is their KRAs or OKRs? How would your platform go ahead and help them? Are you going to go ahead and destroy their career in the company, or are you going to enable a career growth in the company? Why? What problem area are you really going to solve for? or value add are you going to go ahead and try? And before we started this recording, before we started having a conversation, we were all talking about AI and Gen AI. Today, people are just looking at three areas, right? Broadly, if you have to ask me, revenue, margin, and experience. And what I mean by that is, can you increase my revenue? Can you optimize my margins by reducing costs or saving costs? And the third piece is, are you able to go ahead and enhance my experience? When I say experience, it can be a partner experience, shareholder experience, customer experience, or employee experience. Right? These are the three areas in enterprises which people really make a buying decision on. Now, if you've not prepared enough about what you're trying to solve for, and you go ahead and say, this is my hammer, I'm come to sell this hammer, buy this hammer. Now the customer is saying, my wall is broken, the entire brick wall has come down. Yes, I would have needed the hammer if I needed a replacement, but my wall is completely gusted. I need somebody to go ahead and build a wall, not bang the wall. And you're selling me this hammer which doesn't work, right, for my needs. And this has been a biggest mistake I have seen with many people who are trying to sell or get a platform sold into a company, not doing enough preparation, not understanding what it takes, right? I Good companies I have seen, like, they would rehearse the proposal or the pilot preparation like 20 times before they go in front of the customer. They are so obsessive about the customer. They are so obsessive about ensuring that their platform story or their product story aligns with the customer story. And that's a key, and that's massive. David, you have your hands up. Love to.
David, please, yeah.
Yeah, great. That's very helpful. Very, very interesting. One of the key issues that we have, and we're selling into a different sector, into the water sector, and very conservative and very secretive, and they don't want to admit they have any problems. And the key issue for us is really trying to find out what are the problems other than what's already publicly acknowledged. What are the problems that these companies have that we can address? Because we have tools that can address a number of areas, but it's finding out, beforehand, what are the issues they're having. I mean, sometimes when you get into a meeting, then they open up a little bit, but they are quite conservative and sometimes quite closed. So, what your thoughts on that?
No, good question, David. David, can I ask you a little bit, when you say you're selling into water companies, what product are you trying to sell to them?
So we've developed our lead product is a portable digital water tool. It's like a diabetes test for water that's used in the water sector by will be used shortly by water utilities, water test labs, in the beverage industry. I just came back from the Middle East. You mentioned I was in Saudi talking to them about. So the tool can measure a range of things. We started out by measuring arsenic in Bangladesh and in parts of India, which is a big problem. And we've now expanded to measure a whole range of other things. One of the key things is something called PFAS. These are so-called forever chemicals, very, very worrying in many parts of the world because of the carcinogen, and they're everywhere. And then actually we just added on another tool for a test for measuring salinity. And that actually is a thing that seems to have resonated a lot in Saudi Arabia, because they do a lot of desalination, and a lot of the groundwaters has a salinity issue. So yeah, a lot of it is us doing upfront analysis of where we think the issues might be, but it's trying to find, before you go into meet with a client, kind of what are their specific issues. So anyway, that's a little about us.
No, good. Thank you for sharing a little bit of background. So my answer will be a little bit contextual. I will not call myself an expert in water. I'm sure you are, but I'll give you a little bit relatable example so that you will understand, and I'm sure you will empathize. I've been in a similar situation, and I'll tell you an example of exactly where I have been with you as well. 4 months ago, I was actually selling to a customer in Europe, and I was talking about a very AI creative-based platform which we have launched, and I was talking to them. We had done enough research. We had done research about their advertisement. We had done research about where they are failing in their advertisement, what are they doing, and we were presenting, okay, how our platform can help them and enable them. Throughout that entire 45 minutes, David, no questions asked, straight-faced, a poker-faced. And unfortunately, we were calling their baby ugly, right? You would know that you've been in that same situation, right? Whether they are water plants, as an example, have some serious issues. You've read it in newspapers or you have done enough digital work. But after 2 weeks, that customer came back and said, "Can I do a pilot with your platform?" Okay. Now, the reason why that happened when we went back and we dissected it, because we were the way we were presenting, David, is we were humble and we were aggressive at the same time, and not be aggressive, right? One of the key things which happens in sales is you're like, as I was giving an example, you've got a hammer, you behave like a hammer, like you just want to bang, right? But how can you hold a hammer with a feather hand, right? Or with a white glove, right? That while you can call a customer's baby ugly, but how can you go ahead and ensure that you're there? Okay, we understand you have these problems, or we've done our enough research. This is what we would recommend the proposition, and this is how we can solve it. These are the timelines, and this is what we believe can be the answer, right? And that can only happen with preparation. Now, the challenge which happens, like you said, with the preparation is it's a very well guarded industry, right? The example I gave, it's still out open. Now, there are many scenarios where we do, sell very mission critical platforms, but customers say, "Oh, we have the best technology, we have the best team, yada yada yada." What I have done in those scenarios is said, "I'm not here to tell you anything or show you anything. If you have customers, do you already have customers?"
You do. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. What I
In the
did,
research space.
yeah. So I'll tell you, one of the product we've been trying to sell for last 6 years. We've not been successful at it at a great level. But in the last 18 months, we've seen a big uptick. So what we did is with one customer, we actually created video where they talk about how they're using our platform and the benefit it has. So rather than me going and doing a rah-rah session about how great I am, how great my product is, or how I can solve the problem, I said, "I'm not going to go ahead and tell you anything. Just listen to this video for 2 minutes. Like what we have done." Right?
That's a
And
great idea. Yeah.
then that kind of, and you take a relatable one, right? You can't take a very unrelatable video which is not related to their problem statement, but you go ahead and take that video, and it's not a video which we have published in an open market, by the way. It's a very private. It's there on my laptop as an example. I only pull it up when I see the need, right? I pull my trump card or my jack of hearts in the card game only when I see that there is a need to play that card, as an example, right? It's you have seen the body language. I'm sure you've been there enough. You're seeing the body language in as part of the sales process. Is that person going to budge if I nudge him a little bit or her a little bit? So it's all about that tactic which you can use. So that's an example, one of the examples I can give, which you can use very effectively. Basol, is that your name, Basol?
Yes,
Yeah.
my surname is Basol. Thank you very much for the insights you delivered. Very brightful and also very kindfully you deliver. But I would like to ask a very specific question regarding also it depends on the sales strategy and also go-to-market strategy. But we are particularly operating in mobility ecosystem and targeting transportation and logistic companies. And strategically, we are engaging with multiple partners, but at certain point, we do address the leader of the market. Say, in logistic, we are operating in domestic market, which is Turkey. And we do define this company is the leader. Or we clearly see that. But we do have a dilemma of whether we have to insist on delivering this product to the market leader first, then going to the other juniors, which will be following up, or going through the first PR and also credentials through the juniors and going to market leader. Well, which which is there is no binary decision. I was not expecting to get a binary decision. This is the best or this is the worst. But what is the strategic thinking has to be behind giving such a decision? Which is first?
Yeah. No, I've been in your boat. I can tell you one customer which took, because now in B2B buying, you have to sign a master services agreement. Once the customer agreed that they will partner with us, it took us 24 months to just sign a master services agreement. So it's not just about convincing them that we are the right partner. It's about what comes after that, right? Also takes time, to your point, right? So my sales cycle became 4 years, if you think about 2 years to convince them and 2 years to go ahead and do that, right? So if given an opportunity, right, it's easy and it's very tempting for many startups, by the way, to pick up scraps. I always say that, right? Start serving small companies and get your product out to get that credibility, get that usage, and then you try to go and focus on the large enterprise. It's not either or, I would just say that. You have to focus on both, but the dividend which will come in focusing on that larger company will be far more astronomical as compared to picking up these scraps, right? And I'm not saying working always with large companies shouldn't be your strategy, right? If your startup has built a product catering to medium or small businesses, so be it, right? But even within that, you will have the big players and you will have smaller players, even within that segment. So my recommendation is to go ahead and have a dual strategy where you will have the focus on large, but you will also in the start. But I can also tell you one word of caution that the small guys, the energy they will drain you, the same energy you will see that draining happening with the large enterprise as well, right?
Exactly.
If given a choice, and this is what we decide now as a company, we will not work with medium and small enterprises. Right? We only go behind large enterprises. And when I say that, anything below 250 or $100 million, we don't even cater to them. Right? Yes, let the sales cycle be larger. Now, we are in the industry for 2 decades, so we can afford to do that. You can't, right? I can tell you. And I know when I talk to a lot of startups, you can do that. But you can have a dual strategy. Over a period of time, you have to take a call. Which one is better for you? A large one or a small one? Or a medium one, right? You have to take a call. But there are strategies even within that. And that's a mistake which I will talk about where people make when they're dealing with all 3 spectrums or all 4 spectrums also. I've seen companies which deal with consumers, small enterprises, medium enterprises, large enterprises, and also government. They deal with everyone, right? And they believe everybody is the same. The answer is no, it is not, right? So that's it's a flip of a coin, I would say. As a founder, you have to do that. It's a hard call. But I would say the learnings which I've had is the energy drain is similar across the board, right? If you think the small company, you can delegate it down 10 levels within your company to go ahead and manage them versus your attention will only go on large enterprise. I can tell you the answer is definitely no. That doesn't happen. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. The next mistake, and I'll go over to my next slide, is because we are so passionate about our product, we are so passionate about in that entire sales cycle, which the customer, you've been through with the customer and the customer is ready to sign up the pilot and we are executing the pilot, you have missed out. You have not listened to the customer and documented it before you signed up the pilot, which leads to a big colossal failure when you have to sign up for a large contract because your pilot becomes miserable. And the customer will give you a feedback that you didn't pay attention to what we were giving. And I always say, as you go through that sales cycle, as you go through that sales process, the customer leaves those digital footprints, which becomes like gold nuggets. Like David was talking about, when you are guarded, when you have customers, They are leaving those nuggets. They are leaving those nuggets even with the body language. You might pinch them virtually, not physically. You might pinch them, or you might tell them your baby is ugly. If they may have a different body language, which they may not show on the face, but something else may happen. And you don't listen to that, and you don't pay attention to that, then that also results in a big failure in pilots and POCs or your paid programs going for a toss and you not securing a lot. Like the reason why I asked Pankaj for my fireflies to be here, by the way, is because even I'm not saying I'm a best listener, right? I also make mistakes. I help these recordings help me go back and listen to them, or it helps me take these notes, which I as an individual will not be able to do a good job on. So you have technology today which can help circumvent some of these issues which all of us have as human beings, and hopefully it can help you overcome in your life.
So, Anis, if I may ask a follow-up question on that,
Please.
What is your preferred sales strategy or sales method? You like presenting, talking, or you love asking questions, getting more information from the customer, getting more insights from the customer, and then pitching later? What does work best for you?
First, I love to build relationships before I start selling.
Right.
To answer that question, right, I would love to know you, Pankaj, a little bit more than before I go ahead and get to know, uh, try to sell. Now, yes, it's not possible right in the first meeting, the first date with a customer, with a prospect date, that that person will tell me everything about them. But as much as possible, try to go ahead and engage personally and be vulnerable. Before asking or saying everything, I'll share a little bit about me and see, make them comfortable. Like, I'm not here to sell, I'm here to build a relationship, right? And kind of try to make it a point that we work on relationships rather than trying to looking at you as a money machine or a coin machine that, I'm here to put a coin so that you can give something out of that. Right. So that's my first thing. The second is I tell stories. Like today, you can see I love to tell stories, right? Even I'll weave my product into that story, right? I'll try to weave the stories, and either it's my stories, my customer stories, or something else, and then I will open it up and then come with all guns blazing. Once I see that person, he or she is comfortable, they are now engaged in that story, they have opened up about what they can do, then I come all guns blazing and saying, okay, this is what we can really do. And then start showing up PowerPoints, product, everything to that. Peter, you have your hands up.
Peter, yeah.
Yes. It's very interesting what you're saying. And actually, I have a question about how can you make contact with your new customers? So what is your strategy? Because we're still struggling with this. We first, in my opinion, we started. We have a startup. It's an SAS product, so it's a B2B product, and our strategy was in the beginning was cold emailing, cold calling, and we launched a campaign. But after 3 months, we realized that it is not working so well. And my question is that how do you reach your new customers? How can you expand your business? And in your insight, what is your best strategy to generate leads and find new customers? So what is the first and the second step?
This is what I advise to many startups, right? Can I ask you a question, Peter? And is it okay if I put you on spot on few things?
Yes, please.
Yeah. When you started doing cold calling or cold emailing, what was your prospect list?
Around 5,000 potential clients. We started to scale like that. We were expecting we have at least 5-6 leads.
Okay.
But
5,000 people, right? And your expectation was 5.
Yeah.
And how many companies of that 5,000? So if 5,000 were contacts, how many companies?
Actually, zero. So nobody replied and nobody answered.
No.
So
So I understand nobody replied, nobody
yeah,
responded. But were there 5 contacts per company or 1 contact per company? Was it 5,000 companies you were going behind, or were you?
5,000 companies. But some companies had different C-level executives. So, for example, we tried 3, 5 people to reach in the same company. But
Sure.
after a while, we realized that, okay, more around 60% they opened the email, but the reply rate was zero, actually. So, and we tweaked the messages. We tried different messaging form. We tried different strategy, A/B testing, and so on, but it didn't work. And we tried a different strategy. We go into front of the door. We had to meet with person, so we find a timing and we went through to them directly and pitched in front of them. It was much more better this way. But actually, what I'm curious about, how can you generate leads? Because that's okay, that's one technique, but in the future, we can't do it by ourselves. So if would like to go into another market, for example, later on in the Middle East market or Asian market, we need to know what can we do, local or hire sales representative, or what else? What is your thoughts? What is your opinion? Because I think you have much more experience of this.
Sure. Peter, too early to think about new regions right now at the state we actually are in. The mistake which you all did first is going ahead and shortlisting 5,000 companies. And probably I would recommend, if I'm in your shoes, I'm sure your product is not so novel that you are the only product in that category or in that area which you work. Do you have competitor products?
Do we have?
Competitor products,
Yes.
Yes.
right? So if you have competitor products, Peter, did you look at who your competitor customers were?
Yes, we did. We did a deep research.
Yeah, so you did research. So let's say if you found 100 of them, did you find out from G2 or Crowd, or are there customers who are complaining or who are not talking about them? And it's a simple one, I'll tell you. I don't know what your product is.
Mhm.
The day your customer actually in your LinkedIn profile talks about in their profile that they are using this product, they love your product.
Okay, that's a good thing.
And
Actually, I haven't.
if they don't, your competitor
Uh-huh.
product, meaning they may not be proud or they may not be that an active user, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you go ahead and do a little bit of that detail. So that's
Okay.
so first point is, can you distill your reach out plan to only 100, not to 5,000?
Okay. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, once you're focused like an eagle, that you have 100 on that list, what are the different paths to get into that one account? Are there friends? Are there families? Are there advisors? Are there my professional network who can help me get connected to an XYZ person? May not be my ideal customer profile, but can tell me what are the challenges, tell me what are the needs, like what David was asking in that company for that domain, so that I can speak to them and I can then find out who the right person is and be very specific and focus on those 100 only. Rather than trying to go ahead and send cold turkey emails, and I can tell you, email outcomes is 0.1%.
Yeah, we know that. We know that.
Right?
So yeah.
So if you were expecting 5, you were good, but you can only do that when you build relationships with somebody so that people will respect you and they'll say, okay, who you are. Every prospect, I'm sure, Peter, you being a founder of the company, you are getting 10,000 emails a day from different people trying to sell something to you. And what do you do? Shift, delete, or block, right? Or unsubscribe.
Yeah.
Same thing is happening to you. So you have to find different ways and different tactics. And that's why I'm saying use that 100 and find all possible paths to get into that. And what are those Trojan horses which will help you break through those accounts?
So you recommend to, first of all, to reach these people and find out what they are struggling.
but through your network only,
Okay.
right? Are there people from your alumni, from your college alumni, which you can tap into as an example, who may be part of that company?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm from the same XYZ company, college. You are also, I saw that, though we cheered in different, love to connect with you, right? On LinkedIn as an example. People love that.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are these
Interesting.
different paths to get in, meaning we only have 6 minutes left. We can go on with this conversation,
No,
right?
no, sorry.
It's,
Thank you. But
but
thank you for your answer.
It actually got pretty exciting in the later
Yeah.
part of the conversation.
yeah, so there are different ways to, but I would say only one feedback, Peter, if you have to really take it, don't go behind 5,000. Maybe pick 10. I can tell you, then if you've exhausted everything, like if you had just picked up 10, you might have broken through one and got some lever and some introduction, rather than after 3 months realizing nobody even responded, nobody even showed interest. In that 3 months, that 10, you would have got some further into it. If you as a founder would have spent some time and energy to get through that. That was that
Yeah.
mistake.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, actually, we use different strategy, and we realize what is working and what's not. But I wanted to ask you about how you do it and how you reach out new customers. So that's what I was interested. But thank you for your answer.
No. And just building on to what you just said, right? And what I've seen, people think B2B buying is linear process. You prospect, you bring an opportunity, and then people will close. I can tell you, you will go back to the drawing board after coming too close to sign up paperwork. So that's the other mistake which many founders do, and it's not only pertaining to you, Peter, but to everybody, that B2B buying and B2B selling is not a linear process. And I will actually have a chart which talks about how convoluted and how complicated it is. Sometimes you even don't know where you are when it comes to selling process. It's very difficult to determine, because to David's point, many customers are guarded. You are behind a firewall, or you are behind a wall where you can't see what's happening. And because those walls, whether it's procurement or financial processes, they will not let you break through those barriers. So you are only guessing what's happening on the other side. Right? But maybe there's a lot of back and forth happening, which you need to be aware that this is not going to, and there are ways to tackle that, by the way. You can manage that. And I have a perspective on how you can manage that. But that's the other piece.
Thank you.
Yeah. The other mistake which people do in B2B buying, my product is, I'm not going to go ahead and customize or configure, or I'm not going to go ahead and customize or configure my pitch. I have a standard presentation. I'm just going to go ahead and do that vanilla presentation to every customer, goddamn customer. Going back to my preparedness, right? You have to make that presentation feel as if it was created for you. Like this presentation I have created for you. Even though it is borrowed content from some of the other places which I do, but it is customized for you for this session. It's not a vanilla content which I will use, and you may never see the same flow of the content in many other presentations which I would have delivered. And that's the mistake which people do, whether it is in the product delivery, pilot delivery, or even with actually selling the product. You have to customize. For example, Adobe and Salesforce, they say they are a SaaS platform, by the way. If you go deeper into them, 60% is out of box, 40% gets customized for every customer when it gets deployed. That much customization is there. But as a SaaS company, we all believe we are on 99% out of box. There's no customization. Unfortunately, that's not how B2B buying happens. B2B buyers would want to butcher your platform to make it their own. And I have another mistake which I will talk about, is that don't confuse yourself. You're not a services company. You're a product company. You have to draw a line in terms of where you will customize, where you will not customize, as an example. So just be careful in terms of where you're drawing the line and where you're not drawing the line. Like as an example, presentation, you can customize for eternity. If you have to change this entire presentation to black, so be it. Right? If the customer tells, can I use your content to present internally and not talk about you, and I'll have your logo a little bit here and there, don't get too offended about it. Let it be there. that the customer is not saying, go ahead and sell all your code, software code to me, and I will deploy that. Don't do that, right? That's the other piece. Don't convert into being a custom product company for clients, right? So that you, as a founder, because you have that eagerness to go ahead and bring the customer on, you're confused, and in that confusion, you will say yes to everything. Don't do that. Know your guardrail. Have that guardrail so that you can protect yourself, protect the company, protect your product at the end of it. And it's not just you're protecting your company and your product, you're also protecting other customers, current and future, in this entire mix. This is the best one I have seen. You sold your product to one company and you believe you've got a product market fit. I can tell you, I have a KPI. My KPI is at least 10 customers. When I said 10 customers, 10 accounts, not individuals, who have bought your product, then only you get a PMF. Right? Not before that. So that's the other mistake. In the name of pilot, you will offer free, right? That, my product is free. Go ahead and take this pilot. It's a free trial. It's a free product. Go ahead and use it. I can tell you, any free lunch doesn't taste good, right? Same way, if you offer your product for free, you're not going to get that same level of seriousness. You're not going to get the same level of focus, and you're not going to get the same level of attention. You will not go through the same level of hardship what it will take to deploy a full-fledged product when the time comes in. So don't offer anything free. Yes, Peter.
And what about if you offer a trial period? So, for example, to try the product around a month or 40 days or something like that, do you say that is it not a good strategy?
Depends upon which type of a customer you're trying to sell to. Are you trying to sell to a large enterprise or to a small enterprise? You can
I would say a medium. Ideally, is a medium-sized company, around 100 to 200 people.
Yeah, that's still a small size, right?
Yeah, still small, yes.
You can do that for small enterprise. But if you're selling for large enterprise, by the way, many large companies don't even allow their employees to do any free trial softwares.
Yeah.
It's against their CISO policies, which is their security policy, as an example.
Okay.
Right? So be careful of what you offer. Free trial, yes. If the customer says, can I play around with your tool? Yes, we have a demo login. You can play around with as much as you want, right?
Okay.
Which I've been talking about, right? We buy software for our own personal use. For example, you use ChatGPT. So we all want to build software like ChatGPT, right? We all buy Twitter premium subscription. We believe we can build a product for Twitter, but which we will sell to government or enterprise. By the way, that's not true. That's not how enterprises and government organizations buy platforms or B2B products. They buy it very differently. And again, as I'm saying, and I've been asking, what are you really looking to say and where are you trying to sell? Depending upon which quadrant you are in on this chart, it will be a very different process of buying and selling. Peter, for example, you say, okay, I want to sell to 100 and 200 million. Now, using that same process, I want to sell to government. Best of luck. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be that easy. The process itself is going to be very different and different. Your sales process will have to change. Your tactics will have to change. Your product will have to change. Right? So there is this self-induced behavior which we introduce in our own companies, by the way. We've not even capitalized on one quadrant and we want to jump the other quadrant or the third quadrant or the fourth quadrant. Right? So those were the mistakes, right? I'll quickly go through these slides. I'm sure you all have seen this, but I'll just quickly go through this. This is the Gartner cycle, by the way, sales cycle. If nobody has seen this, I would highly recommend you all to look at this slide. You can go ahead and search on Google also. It's the Gartner B2B sales cycle. this is how complicated the sales cycle is, right? And the reason why this is complicated, there are different personas who get involved in buying a freaking software in a company. And each have their own way of looking at the software. And each of these roles play different aspects in the buying process. They are not the same. And unfortunately, we treat all of them the same. Our content speaks the same language to all of these buyers. Our language is the same. Like if you go to and talk to a procurement person versus if you're going and talking to a decision maker, our language or PowerPoints are going to be the same. The procurement is coming for a flesh of pound from you. And you're talking how good the platform is. As an example. Yes, you can, but then they are going to talk what kind of discount, what kind of cost benefits am I going to get? Have that cost benefit slides already ready. So that's the other piece, right? That it's a mistake, but hopefully this slide helps you. And Pankaj, I'm happy to share this content if it helps them. But
that would be awesome. That would be definitely very awesome.
This is a big mistake which people think that everybody is the same in the bunch. Even in SMB, by the way. Peter, you may find one person performing 3 roles at the same time. And the other person performing 2 or more roles in the other one. So that's also you need to be aware who's doing what role is that person, what point of view that person is coming with. And the other piece, which is the biggest mistake, but people need to be aware, the spending power is not the same with everybody. Like a director, as an example, who reports an executive director may report into a vice president, to a senior vice. Each one of them have a different spending power. Your product may cost $1 million. And if you are harping on a door which can only spend $100,000, your product will never go through it. So, Peter, for example, if your product is being sold at $1 million, you have to go and talk to a CEO or a C-suite. You can't be talking to a director or to a manager within a company. They may be your influencer. They may be your user. They may tell you what problems exist. But
yeah, you're right.
But they are not the purchaser or the decision maker at the end of the day because they don't even have an authority to spend $1 million.
This exactly the thing happened. Well, actually, I'm still in negotiation about a product with a large company around 3,000 employees. I'm not even talking with the CEO. I'm talking about, I don't know, one kind of manager, but still negotiating. I don't know how many times, and we didn't break it through. Now we're trying another strategy, but probably in January we're going through. But it's much more difficult, these larger enterprises to deal with.
And I can tell you, none of them will tell you what their budget limits are or how much they can spend because they don't want to make themselves look little in front of
Good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, when you're categorizing people, which I was talking about, how do you get to know them? How do you break that ice? Each one of them, you have to really identify when you go back to these different roles. You have to really carve what my ideal customer profile looks like. What are their values? What are their buying behaviors? What technologies do they use as an example? What content do they consume? What are their goals? What are their challenges? What's keeping them awake, the individual? You have to draft that. I know it's a painful exercise, but it could have saved you those 3 months. It may take you a week to do this.
Okay, we're going to work on this.
The way the Japanese work, right? They plan for 90% of that timeline and 10% is execution. We do 90% execution and 10% is planning. It's the other way, even in sales process, right?
Yes.
We have a product. Let's go into the market. It's the best freaking product on the planet Earth. It will sell like hotcakes. We get a reality check in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. It's not even selling like peanuts. So right? That's the challenge we all face, is because we've not done our groundwork effectively. So yeah, that's our last slide. I know I skimmed through the last part pretty quickly because we are almost on overtime. But Pankaj, over to you. And as I said, if people want to connect with me, happy to do that. These are my contact details. If they want to continue the conversation, happy to do that. Pankaj.
Fantastic. No, really, really appreciate that, Anis. I think it has been very, very insightful. I think we can probably host another session, Ask Me Anything, and that would be, even better, even more fascinating. So really, really appreciate your time, Anis. I know it's Friday evening and you have to probably go back to your family, but yeah, thanks a lot for today, and we'll reconnect soon. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye. Bye, everyone. Thanks for
Bye, everybody.
Pankaj, actually, one question, please. Where can we look back these webinars?
So I will be I have recorded the session and I'll be sharing that with you, and I'll also be streaming that on different platforms. But I would also request Anis if he could share the presentation so that we can have a look at it later. That would be super awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.